Located in the heart of the Italian capital Rome, alongside landmarks such as the Colosseum and the Pantheon, is also the smallest country in the world, the Vatican. With a population of just 500 and an area of 0.44 square kilometres, it is barely larger than about 62 football pitches, and yet it is a country with its own passport, its own currency, its own official language, and its own government. But why is the Vatican a separate country at all? The origins of the Vatican state are inextricably linked to the role of the Pope and the Catholic Church. Since the early Middle Ages, the Pope has not only been the spiritual leader of the Church, but also a powerful political actor. As early as the 8th century, the Church gained control over large areas of Italy through the so-called Pipinian donations. These lands, which came to be known as the Papal States, covered much of central Italy, and the Pope ruled them like a secular prince. For centuries, the Church enjoyed this position of power, and the Pope played a central role in the political affairs of Europe. But in the 19th century, with the rise of national movements and the unification of Italy, the political balance changed dramatically. The Italian unification movement, led by Giuseppe Garibaldi and King Victor Emmanuel II, aimed to unite all Italian territories under a single state, and this also meant that the territories of the Papal States were to be integrated into the new Italian state. When the Kingdom of Italy conquered Rome in 1870, the Pope's rule over his temporal territories came to an end. The Pope then withdrew to the Vatican and considered himself a prisoner in his own palace. For decades, he refused to recognize the authority of the Italian state over Rome and the Vatican, and a political stalemate ensued. This led to a period known as the Roman Question, the question of how the relationship between the Pope and the newly founded Kingdom of Italy should be regulated. This stalemate lasted for almost 60 years until it was resolved in 1929 with the Lateran Treaties. These were negotiated by the Church with the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, who sought the support of the Catholic Church. Through the treaties, Italy recognized the sovereignty of the Vatican state and guaranteed the Pope full independence over the small territory. The Vatican also received compensation for the lost Papal States, a total of 1.75 billion lire, about $65 million today. This is how the independent state of Vatican City, as we know it today, came into being, a tiny country in the center of Rome. But what makes the Vatican a state when it is so small? The answer lies in the basic pillars of state sovereignty. The Vatican has its own government, with the Pope as absolute monarch. This means that the Pope unites the three powers of the state, legislative, executive, and judicial, in one hand. He has his own military unit, the Swiss Guard, which acts as the Pope's protective force. The Vatican also has its own currency, the Vatican euro, its own postage stamps, and even its own court system. The official languages of the Vatican are Latin and Italian. Despite its tiny size, the Vatican meets all the criteria of a sovereign state. Another important role of the Vatican is its diplomatic importance. The Holy See, the Pope's governing authority, maintains diplomatic relations with over 180 countries worldwide. The Vatican participates as an observer state in many international organizations, such as the United Nations. Despite its small geographical size, the Vatican therefore has a considerable influence on global political decisions, particularly in areas relating to morality, ethics, and international relations. However, the Vatican is not only a political player, but above all, the spiritual center of the Catholic Church. Every year, millions of pilgrims and tourists flock to Rome to visit St. Peter's Basilica, the largest church in the world and a symbol of the faith for over 1 billion Catholics. But while the Vatican is often seen as a land of tradition and spirituality, it still faces challenges. The Catholic Church must assert itself in an ever-changing world, and the Vatican, as a state, must continue to grapple with the political and social changes that characterize the modern world. If you want to learn more about a country that has managed to become one of the poorest in South America, despite having the world's largest oil reserves, I recommend my video about Venezuela. Have fun watching it and see you next time. Ciao!